And we're back with another episode of Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Inside Sports Fantasy Football, plus also as well Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcast. Plus also as well the Lakers Fast Break. Nobody covers the Lakers and the world of the NBA like us at the Lakers Fast Break. Truly appreciate you watching and listening, but you also, for your sports fix, have to go ahead and check out the latest episodes of the Domination Sports Nation. And if you do, please, for all these shows, 5-star review wherever you get your podcast, plus also like and subscribe today to go ahead and get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here. Thanks so much for joining me. It is championship weekend in the NFL. We've all been waiting for this. It all comes down to this as far as for the Super Bowl, big game, whatever you want to say. It is the AFC and NFC championships coming to you this weekend as we have the Detroit Lions heading into San Francisco to face off against the 49ers and the Kansas City Chiefs and the media sensation that they are. Taylor Swift, Kelsey's aside, those individuals and the contingent known as the Kansas City Chief with Patrick Mahomes, they go ahead and head into the unfriendly confines of Baltimore and the Baltimore Ravens. This weekend looks like it's going to be a couple great matchups. And here today to go ahead and discuss these two matchups, a good man indeed. You have got to go ahead and catch him and his son, Dominic Lardieri, each and every time out for the Domination Sports Nation. It is Chris Lardieri. And Chris, great to have you here, my friend. It is championship weekend in the NFL. I'm excited. We had some real good games this past weekend. Some major bonehead moves, as I noted to you on the DM in regards to time management, especially in Green Bay. I understand about Tampa Bay. I think that game was already done, like the Tampa Bay coach said. But the Green Bay coach, I think, made a little bit of an error, in my opinion, as I noted to you. But some great games, nonetheless, that came down to the wire. And I'm looking forward to hopefully the same this weekend.
Gerald, great to be back. Thanks as always. And yeah, at least we got some compelling football last week and a little more interesting than wild card weekend. Completely agree with you. I thought the Packers could have easily won that game. Had a bad feeling after the missed field goal, but like you said, I don't get these coaches with the clock management, relying on kickers. I know we didn't talk about this on DM, but what went on in Buffalo with McDermott, I think, is a shame. You know, we had Bass on one of our fantasy teams this year, Dom and I, and we jettisoned him probably a little bit past the halfway mark. And it's because there are times in Buffalo during the regular season where he was inconsistent. And no one seemed to mention that. And he did his best Scott Norwood impression. But why are you not running more clock? Why are you calling 2 pass plays, specifically on 2nd and 9? You're worried about, even if you tie the game, the Chiefs marching down the field, even if they only have one timeout. I think it was a realistic possibility they would have been in field goal range. So you want to bleed as much clock as possible while getting your kicker a little closer. Why not run the ball? I mean, there are plenty of things you can point to in that game, drop passes, especially Stephon Diggs. But I think LaFleur and McDermott really kind of the coaching goats from this past weekend.
And the reason why I said that is in regards to LaFleur and Green Bay about his bumbles. I just think when I am of the mindset, when you're under 3 minutes to play, take your timeouts then if you're on that end, because you get an extra timeout with the 2-minute warning. And at around 2:45, 2:49 left, that's when you should have started calling your timeouts. That way, your team has plenty of time on the other end. If you stop them, or even if they score, you still have plenty of time to come back down. You have almost 2 minutes left on the clock, and that's an eternity. But if you don't, and you let it go after the 2-minute warning, you start calling those timeouts, it can cost you, and it did with Phil LaFleur.
Absolutely. And, you look at the week before the Rams, they punted to the Lions, only had one timeout left. You've got those timeouts, you use them. What are you saving them for, especially with your season on the line? With a field goal, you have to mentally prepare. If it's missed, this is basically a punt that goes nowhere and the other team's getting the ball back. So completely agree. Don't understand it. Help your defense out too in the process. But, I think at some point, Gerald, whether it's on our podcast or this fine show here, we should talk about just game management in the NFL in general. You can blame analytics all you want, and they are partially to blame. But some of these coaches, I don't know if they're too busy calling plays or being a little too, I don't want to say micromanaging, but hands on to where they can't see the 30,000-foot view. And, I was reading something this week where Dan Campbell's basically delegated all the play calling duties the past few seasons to Ben Johnson, who's probably going to get a head coaching job. And I think that's smart. The head coach is there to manage, not only with personnel, but time management, game situations, whether to go for two or kick. And I don't think people really, especially some of these younger coaches, have learned from that.
Once again, it is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It is Chris Sardieri from the Domination Sports Nation, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. It is championship weekend. We'll start off and we'll kick it off with the AFC championship game with the Swifties, known as the Kansas City Chiefs. They head into Baltimore to face off against a very tough Baltimore Ravens team. Now, originally, Chris, when I started everything off as far as the picks, I believe was on this show, I said my final two would be the chalk teams, the Ravens and the 49ers. I don't know. I'm possibly thinking I could see a change in my near future. I'll go ahead and make sure that's indicated before the end of the show. But your thoughts, my friend, on the AFC championship game between the Chiefs and the Ravens?
I don't think this is a gimme. And I know going into this, you and I both forecasted a Buffalo Baltimore AFC championship game. So I definitely wouldn't fault you for picking the Ravens there. But with the way the Chiefs are playing, the way they pulled it out in Buffalo, the fact that they're another underdog this week, 3.5 points. My One of my friends made a phenomenal point. He said to me during that Chiefs Bills game, this team reminds me of the 1990s Yankees dynasty, where they'd have some flat out like crappy stretches down the season, or extend series way too long, but they'd find a way to win. Like at the end of the day, it's a veteran team that knew how to win, to play in the clutch. The Derek Jeters of the world. I could equate that to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. These guys just show up when there's crunch time. So I would not be shocked if we see the Chiefs go back again. But on the flip side, I think the Ravens are dangerous, and the Chiefs have never been in this spot in the Mahomes era where they have to go on the road to try and get to the Super Bowl in the AFC Championship game.
Also here today, good man indeed. He is Onyx1947 at LakersBall.com. Plus, also, you got to go ahead and check out his new show on the Lakers Fast Break YouTube channel entitled Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro. It is Joe Soro. And Joe, great to have you here. Your thoughts on the AFC Championship game with Kansas City heading into Baltimore?
Well, I chimed in because I heard you guys talking about Buffalo and Stephon Diggs, and I know everybody's piling on McDermott, and that seems to be the easy way out.
I'm more on the floor for his time management than McDermott personally.
Where McDermott made a mistake, and it's not just a mistake this last week, is Stephon Diggs something was going on with this guy the last half season. Something, especially in the last month. Something's going on in there. And every time I saw them go anywhere near him, I just had this feeling like, what are you doing? Stay away from that guy. That guy he just seemed like he wasn't focused. And in the end, you had a lot of the execution towards the end was, and I have to say this over and over again, is Patrick Mahomes. When you're on that drive and you're thinking about scoring, there's also a thought that, what do we do? Do we score? What if we score too quick? What if what if we can't score? What if should we do a field goal here? And that it's like that guy puts you. It's just like what Tom Brady used to do. The guy puts you in a mental state where you're in constant fear. And if anyone would fear Patrick Holmes, it would be the Buffalo Bills and McDermott because they lost a damn playoff game being up with 13 seconds left. So for those of you who, because I said this about Giannis on our show yesterday, about how Giannis and Patrick Mahomes right now are on a trajectory where they're starting to get hate now, where they were fan favorites and feel good story for a while. And it always happens like this, where you come out, you're the darling of everyone's eye. And then when you start to win too much, or maybe you complain a little bit, all of a sudden, all the people that want to watch you crash will start thinking you're entitled and you're a baby and all that. Well, this is what that's turned into. But at the end of the day, it's still Patrick Mahomes, and he'll whoop your. And the fear of God is in all these teams because of it. So, as far as what I think is going to happen in the AFC Championship game, I cannot pick against Patrick Mahomes until he loses. At this point, I'm feeling like it's going to be a rematch of Super Bowl 54.
Okay.
That's my prediction for. And I know Lamar Jackson doesn't get enough credit, and I know it's blah, 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 blah. I have a way out of that too, by the way. I'm a Steeler fan. So if I hate on Lamar Jackson, the Ravens, no one calls me a hater. They just, he's a Steeler fan. Of course he doesn't like the Ravens. I do like Lamar Jackson, though. I do like the fact that he has been getting a little abused here in terms of not winning. Been injured the last couple of years. So if he's going to do it, this is all laid out perfect for him right now. So if he's going to do it, this is the team to do it with. But number 15 is on that other side. And as long as that guy's playing, I can't go against him, especially in a game like this.
Once again, it is Inside Sports Fantasy Football. It is Joe Soro from Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro, and also LakersBall.com, and Chris Lardieri from the Domination Sports Nation. I'm Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Truly appreciate it. There is another game that's going on right afterwards in the NFC, Chris, and that is the Detroit Lions, who are breathing air they haven't breathed in quite some time. They face off against the San Francisco 49ers. Still with my favorite quarterback story I have maybe of all time. He's not my favorite quarterback. It's just the story. I love the fact that he's Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's taking the team to a second playoff run. Your thoughts, my friend? It hasn't been pretty for the San Francisco 49ers. No one says it has been. I'm not going to say it is. Last week, it was not the prettiest, win in the books per se, but they got the job done. Will they get the job done again at home against the Detroit Lions?
I think they can, but I would not be shocked if the Lions pull this one out. And, there's been a lot of excuses in the media. Well, it was raining and Purdy can't throw a wet ball and Debo's out and they miss him. I mean, at the end of the day, they had Christian McCaffrey, which really was the determining factor. And thanks with some help from LaFleur on the other sideline. But CMC running the ball down the Packers' throat at the end. And then to their defense, which was kind of abysmal against the run. Aaron Jones most of the game made the stops when they had to, and Greenlaw had a key pick of Jordan Love. So I know they were rusty. I know they played shoddy. I personally think they can win this game, but would not be terribly shocked if the Lions pull it out. I know the Lions have had some ups and downs in their first two playoff games, but I feel like that Rams game was a real test. It was a slugfest, and I think they'll be prepared for anything, even on the road.
Do you think a key, before I get to Joe, do you think a key will be who can run the ball better? Both have dynamic running games, especially with Detroit having not one, but two really good running back options. Your thoughts, could running the ball for once in the NFL in recent times be the key to success for either team?
Absolutely. And if Gibbs and Montgomery can run as effectively as Jones did against the 49ers, I think they could really be in trouble. Reason being is they're a well-rounded team. Look, if the 49ers miss Samuel, yeah, that definitely hurts them. I think they may need to rely on McCaffrey more. If the 49ers stop the run, Goff's got options. They're going to say, "Oh, we dare you to beat us, Jared. Remember when you played down in LA?" The key for me is Sam Laporta, who's been one of Goff's favorite targets all year. If he really is back in game shape, and God knows he toughed it out the first 2 weeks, I think he could be the X factor. But yeah, with a two-headed monster at running back, I think that's one thing the 49ers need to be concerned about.
Joe, what are your thoughts on the Detroit Lions and the San Francisco 49ers?
The issue there were two issues with the Niners that didn't involve Purdy. It was their pass rush was non-existent, and they weren't able to stop the run. And Detroit plays very well. What I saw with the Packers, I saw Aaron Jones revitalized, almost looked like Aaron Jones from 5 years ago. He was getting to the edge rather quickly. And if they do that, if Gibbs does that, and Montgomery, you are going to have a problem, a major problem. So the Niners have to make sure that they have the outside containment. Otherwise, and it's hard, if you're going to have Bosa go after the quarterback, sometimes that there's a sacrifice there. But I would say the San Francisco 49ers need to make sure that they almost play it safe in this game. Don't take chances. Try to apply pressure as much as you can, but also make sure that no one gets outside them. Because if they do, you're going to see a repeat of what happened in the Green Bay game. And the pressure is a little bit tighter in this game versus last week. Packers very well could have won last week. And if Detroit does what the Packers did, I don't know if the Niners can save themselves twice. That's a major risk for them. So they got to stop. They got to stop. They got to stop the run. And if they can do that, and they should be able to win, even if it's a close one.
Before we head on out, guys, I want to go ahead and make sure we head out onto the lawn one more time to go ahead and check on that dog, because woof, 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 it is time for the doghouse. So, Chris, who is your dog between not a plethora of choices this time around? It's either the Lions at a at a +7, or it is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs at 3.5. You could say 4 in some cases from what I'm seeing in some sportsbook, but let's just say 3.5 and 7 to keep it simple.
Yeah, been 2-0 in the playoffs. Been a nice little run and a couple wins down the stretch too. A lot on the line here for yours truly. In normal times, I would pick the Chiefs on the road, even if you're stuck with the 3.5. My role, get that extra hook. Field goals seem to determine a lot of these games, as we've seen so far this January. But I don't want to go a second time, but I will say I would feel comfortable with that. That would be my 1A pick should the latter game get canceled or something insane happen, right? But I am going to go with the Detroit Lions +7. Reason being, full disclosure, I have a ticket my friend placed for me in your fine home city of Las Vegas with the Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl at 20-1. I don't advocate gambling, boys and girls, but if you do with NFL futures, you always need to hedge. I did it a few weeks ago with the Rams getting 3.5. That covered my Lions wager. If I were to hedge it again, I'd feel comfortable. I would love to see the Lions win. I'm going to be frank. I'm rooting for them, but I think 7 points is a lot for all the reasons Joe gave, for the fact that no one's talking about what a monster Aiden Hutchinson is. I think he's a game changer on defense, and he's going to cause Purdy some problems on Sunday evening. So I think the Lions will keep it close. If they do lose, I could see it being a 3-4 point game, but I'm going to try and give the positive vibes to the gambling karmaverse, whatever you want to call it, and hope the Lions win outright. I just feel like 7's a lot of points, and the gambling public is not respecting this team out of Detroit.
Joe, which underdog do you have more faith in, the Lions or the Chiefs this weekend? Okay, at 3.5.
Chiefs. The Chiefs, as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, there's always a shot there. And if Travis Kelsey can do what he did last week, that's obviously going to help them. Baltimore, this is one of the better Baltimore defenses we've seen probably in the last decade. So Patrick has his work cut out for him. But if he does his job against this defense and they win, it's going to be an interesting Super Bowl because now Patrick Mahomes is back in there and he'll be staring at a third Super Bowl after 7 years. And what I thought would never happen again, it's going to look like there's a trajectory that's going towards that way, which would be Patrick Mahomes. And I'm fully with Patrick Mahomes in that he's probably physically the best quarterback I've ever seen. And if he wins his third Super Bowl after beating a phenomenal Baltimore team, and then what I think is going to be what's been pretty much a front runner all year in the Niners, that guy is going to be put in a category that could be in the top 5 all time in his position. 7 years in the league, just 7 years in the league,
and he didn't play his first year, so really it's 6. It's insane.
It is. It's again. I noticed it in 2018, the first year he played. He dropped 5 touchdown passes against the Steelers at that time. The game started out, what was it? I think it was 21-0, and then the Steelers came back, scored 21 points, and then he went on and scored 2 more touchdowns. The guy's a quarterback savant, and I also think that the rumors of Andy Reid possibly retiring might be true. And what a way to send Andy out and then getting him ready for the Hall of Fame, then to send him out a 3-time champion.
I'm torn because I would actually put money on both underdogs this weekend. I really think that both have distinct advantages, but if you're going to put the proverbial gun to my head and ask me to go ahead and choose one, I'm going to say the San Francisco 49ers struggled last weekend mightily. And if they do that same thing again against a guy who in Jared Goff took our team already to the Super Bowl, he knows what it takes to get there. And this team is not just your normal, oh, we're so happy to be there type deal with Detroit. They have the foundation for an experienced team, and it starts at that quarterback. So they have someone who could outmatch up Brock Purdy. As much as I love his story, there's a good chance that Goff could outplay Purdy and the Lions could outplay the San Francisco 49ers. But do not be surprised if it is a Lions Chiefs Super Bowl. All 4 of these teams are good quality teams, but I am not going to be surprised by any outcome this weekend.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Great having you here. Chris, any last plugs for Domination Sports Nation before we head on out?
Yeah, wherever you download your podcast, Dom-Nation Sports Nation. Dom's a little under the weather, so this week's episode might be on hold, excuse me, or pushed to next week where we will do our Super Bowl preview, conference championship wrap-up. Gerald, you're going to be hearing from Dom shortly. We're scheduling you for an upcoming show. And I think with some of the recent NBA news, including not only Doc Rivers taking this Milwaukee Bucks job, but what a bunch of fools ESPN looks like, getting rid of the great Jeff Van Gundy, hiring Rivers, and then, a few months in, walking away from that lead analyst job on ABC, ESPN. So that's some juicy content right there. Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers, Bill Belichick still not hired. So even off the field, there's a lot to talk about in the NFL. Follow us on Instagram at Domination Sports Nation, or on Twitter or X, or whatever it's called these days, at Chris L Sports.
There you go, indeed. Once again, it's the Domination Sports Nation. For Joe Soro, it's Lakers Nightcap with Joe Soro. That comes up after every Lakers game. Is that correct? At 11 p.m. Pacific?
Correct.
All right. Sounds good. But Joe and I actually have a Lakers fast break we're going to do here in the next couple minutes. Looking forward to that. but also looking forward to some great championship matchups this weekend. Really, really good. I really feel that it's going to be some really good football for everyone out there. And the next episode that we'll have is a Super Bowl preview. When that comes, we'll go ahead and arrange it here in the not too distant future, but it will come before Super Bowl time, rest assured, as only we can do right here at Inside Sports Fantasy Football.